Welcome back to the video. Today we are back for our week 2 power rankings for the NFL season. Now this video should have probably been yesterday rather than today, so that's my fault because technically week 2 has already started and we've already seen what the Vikings and Eagles have done, so my bad. A little awkward in that timing. Going forward, it will be on every Thursday at probably, I don't know, before the game start at least. But for the rest of the teams, this is going into week 2, so we don't know what to really expect yet. And I do have my rankings that I'm going to be going off of from week 1. If you guys didn't see that video, go check it out. It's that same ranking, except now I'm moving teams around. Obviously, just kind of how power rankings work after the first week, going into the second week. And so to start us out at number 32 is the Arizona Cardinals. I don't think too many people are going to really disagree with this one. The Cardinals were last in my rankings coming into the season. They didn't win. I mean, they competed more than I thought they would. I'd give them that, but I just can't put them over any other team. It's going to be a long season for the Cardinals. Then next at number 31 is going to be the Texans. Now, the Texans, I have to put that like this. Yeah, the Texans, I believe, are down one spot from where I had them before. Not really much. It doesn't really mean much, honestly. Just one team happened to move up, so they slid down. They also lost. I do think CJ Stroud looked pretty good, though. He took care of the ball, threw for like over 40 attempts in his first game, and didn't turn the ball over against a very good Ravens defense. Didn't throw a touchdown, but no interceptions. It's a nice sign from CJ Stroud, taking care of the ball. But overall, the Texans just still are not quite that level yet. They can get to that level, but going to week 2, they are still going to be the 31st best team, in my opinion. And then next is going to be the Bears. And the Bears, they slid for me. And I'm sure Bears fans aren't going to like this coming from a Panthers fan and all that. But why can I not just move that there? Finally. But I know Bears fans might not like that coming from a Panthers fan. But for one, I had the Panthers very far down on here as well. But two, I was ready for, week 1. I think everybody was really. Week 1, Fields came off a great second half of last year rushing. Now he has a weapon, with DJ Moore, wide receiver 1. It just didn't really materialize in anything. And I'm not sure if you guys have seen JT on YouTube. He's the QB School. If you haven't seen him or don't watch him, go check him out. He breaks down a bunch of QBs every week and kind of how their games went, their reads, the way the plays executed, all that kind of stuff. And it's really, really nice to watch. He has very good breakdowns. So first off, go subscribe to him. Second off, he went really in on Justin Fields and the Bears offense, and for good reason. There is a lot of plays that were dropped that just didn't make any sense, where it had two receivers going to the same side of the field, like the same route. Fields not throwing the ball where it's supposed to go or waiting too long. The Bears offense looks very dysfunctional. I do think the talent is there, but from what we saw last week, getting destroyed by the Packers, and now even playing Tampa Bay, Tampa Bay's confident upset win. I don't know how much I like the Bears. I'm not sure why I said like that, the Bears. But the Bears this week, they are going to go at number 30 for me because they're not quite there, and they slid a lot further than I thought they would. And then joining them at number 29 is going to be the Panthers. I told you guys I have them very far down here. The only reason I have the Bears farther than them is pretty much because the Panthers, I think, looked more stable. They just did the classic shoot yourselves in the foot, fumbled the ball a bazillion times, and then, throw in 2 interceptions. So I think the Panthers showed more promise from their offense. It was just the turnovers. The Bears just didn't look like they could move the ball very well, and it didn't look like they're on the same page at all. So that's really the only reason I had the Panthers above the Bears. J.C. Horn goes down again in the Panthers game. Big hamstring injury, evidently, but, it's tough. The guy can't catch a break. Panthers offense, I think, considering the Falcons defense improved and Bryce Young made the same mistake twice on those 2 interceptions, I think it could have gone a lot worse because I think the interception is an easy one to clean up. And it was also an amazing play by Jesse Bates both times. He read the ball very well. I mean, some serious kind of, best safety in the league type stuff. So I'm not too upset about that, but at the end of the day, the Panthers are just one of the worst teams in the league. So they went down, I think, 3 spots in my rank. But in case you guys do care about where they were before, I will say that going forward, because I'm not going to lie, I kind of forgot for a couple of those teams. But the Buccaneers are up 3 spots, which is pretty good for them. I mean, I don't see them being a whole lot higher than this unless Baker Mayfield really surprises. I just feel like we're at the point of the season where the Baker cycle is on, looking pretty good. Give it 3 weeks, and he's going to be pretty bad. That's just how Baker is. I like him a lot. I like watching him play. He's a really good competitor, but can't rank much higher than that, although I will give them credit. They went in to Minnesota and won on the road in a game I don't think anyone gave them much of a chance in. So they had to move up to some degree. I think they looked better than the Panthers did because they honestly moved the ball fairly well in the second half of that game. Kirk threw a costly red zone interception to kind of take the Vikings out of it a bit, but still, Buccaneers win. They move up 3 spots on the power ranking. The next is going to be the Colts moving up 1 on the power rankings. Now, I know that's not a lot, and they actually lost and moved up, but I think they looked a lot better than I thought they would, honestly. Richardson, I thought would struggle more so than he did. To be fair, it was the Jaguars defense, which isn't the best defense in the world, but still, I mean, it wasn't bad, and I kind of like where the Colts are. So I moved them up 1. I thought they looked pretty good. But again, long road ahead of seeing how this all comes together with Richardson in his first year. But he did look very good. I will give him credit for that. He looked great. So up 1 spot for the Colts, which maybe that seems too high, maybe have them lower, but in my opinion, that's just where they kind of fall for right now. And then next is a team I did not think would move up at all, but that's going to be the Rams, who I believe moved up 4 spots on my rankings. I'm going to be honest, I kind of didn't give them a single chance in that Seahawks game. I'm sure most people didn't, but like I was really thinking like there is no way they lose to the Seahawks, or they beat the Seahawks, and they won by a considerable amount. And then you have, oh my gosh, I can't say his name. Puka Nacua, I believe, going for like 120 yards. Tutu Atwell going for like 120 yards. Stafford moved the ball pretty well with no Cooper Kupp. So is that sustainable? I don't really know, but the Seahawks defense isn't that bad. So that's a big win for the Rams. They're definitely going to have to move up on the list. We'll have to see if they continue playing at that level, but hey, for week 2, I had to move up to some degree. And then the next team to move up is going to be, not move up. The next team up is going to be the Broncos, who moved down 3 spots. I just really didn't feel like there was a whole, I don't want to say there's a whole lot of improvement, because I think there was. I think Russ looked more comfortable, but I just feel like the Raiders is such a winnable game. Even though it's a divisional game, like, you can definitely win that. So I was a little disappointed with the way the Broncos played. I feel like they can put up more points than 16. You know what I mean? Like, that offense is not bad. They should be able to put up more than 16 points. But you know what? They were really bad last year, so it's not going to be an overnight fix for them. I think when they get some more games under their belt, Sean Payton should be able to have them competing a bit more, and at the very least, just put more points on the board. I think that's like the major concern for me, at least. So they're going to fall there, which I believe ends off the bottom 8. So that's 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25. So those are my bottom 8 teams in the NFL going into week 2. Let me know down below your guys' thoughts on that, but of course, we're going to keep going. And then the next team that I believe moved actually up 3 spots is going to be the Saints. The Saints, I think, looked, I don't want to say, okay, they looked good with Carr, but like at the same time, we've all seen Derek Carr before, so whether or not this is going to be like an every week thing, I'm not really sure. So I'm going to move them up 3 spots because just off last week alone, I kind of have to. They honestly played not terrible. It's a pretty boring game, but they did win. Carr over 300 yards passing. Chris Olave looked great. And you have to remember, you just don't have Alvin Kamara yet. So, you will be a bit better whenever he comes back. But for sure, Saints have to move up a few more spots. So they're up to 3, which is, I believe, number 24 on the rankings. And then the next team up is the Falcons, who actually came up 2 spots from where I had them before. Before I had them at number 25, they moved up a couple spots. I had to leapfrog them over the Saints because I think their win over the Panthers was better than the Saints win over the Titans, in my opinion. The Falcons played really well, but I think the biggest thing for me was the Falcons' defense played very well. That's what I wanted to see. I knew the Falcons' offense had to be good to some degree. Regardless of how good Ridder is, there's too many weapons for them to be that bad. But the defense was like what, should have been upgraded with Jesse Bates, Calais Campbell. So I wanted to see that improve. And I feel like I didn't want to see it improve as a Panthers fan, but I wanted to see it improve as a football fan, and I think it did. So I'm moving the Falcons up to number 23 in the rankings going into this week. They're playing the Packers, come off a very hot game. It should be a really good one this week, and I want to see how Jordan Love does against that defense. But yes, Falcons go 23. Then next up is the Raiders. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this team, I'm going to be honest. I only moved them up 1. I think just because other teams shifted, so they happened to move. I would have been perfectly comfortable leaving them where I had them before, which was, I guess, number 24, 23, 22. So I guess number 23 before. I think they played fine. They got the win, but it wasn't like, wow. It wasn't like a big improvement or a big shift in my opinion. But again, to be fair to both teams, both the Raiders and the Broncos, it is a divisional game where they are usually pretty competitive. So I understand that, and I will wait to kind of see how the Raiders play some of those different out-of-positional teams and all that kind of stuff, or out-of-divisional teams. But Yeah, still a win, moved up one spot, but nothing crazy for the Raiders. Next up is the Titans, who I'm actually going to put up here, and that is down 5 spots from where I had them. Maybe that's on me for having them too high to enter the season. I was just really excited to see how they would all fit kind of together with now Hopkins. You still have Derrick Henry, Treylon Burks in his second year, and that defense is also, not bad. And you play a really slow game against the Saints. And here's something I will say too, and this goes for every single team that played this week. There weren't a lot of well-played football games. Like, there is some pretty sloppy football all around, which I mean, it's a week 1 thing. A lot of these guys didn't even play in the preseason, so it's kind of expected. But I will just say that kind of for all these teams, it kind of is necessary, I guess, for each team. But especially that Titans and Saints game, I feel like it was just a bit of sloppy football back and forth for a good deal of that. But regardless, the Titans just did not play that good at all, especially on the level I think that they can play at, because I think their ceiling is relatively high in a pretty bad division. But again, they got the loss. They're going to come down 5 spots for me this week, entering week 2. Next up is the Steelers, who, I'm not going to lie, dropped 4 spots for me. It might seem like a lot, but man, you got slapped. I mean, you really got slapped. And to be fair, the 49ers were like a Super Bowl favorite. They have a really good defense, really good offense. Brock Purdy seems to have bounced back from that surgery pretty well so far. So, I understand the context, but Kenny Pickett just looked rattled. And when you have like 1 yard of offense the entire first half or whatever it was, I can't just keep them where they are. The Steelers are a good team, but that was not shown last week. I'm sure the players know it. They have a big Monday night game against the Browns, big divisional game, where they need to seriously come back from that, because that was an absolute stomping by the 49ers. The Steelers just didn't do a whole lot of things well. They also lose Cameron Hayward and Deontay Johnson to injuries in that game. So that was just really, really bad all around for them. But yeah, they're down 4 spots. And speaking of getting slapped, next is the Giants, who went down 5 spots. People might not be happy I have them still above the Steelers, which, like, if you switch the Steelers and the Giants, I'm not going to argue with you on that. Like, that's valid. Okay, like, don't come at me in the comments. It's fine. I just have them there because I think the Giants are the better team, honestly. I think the Giants' offense is improved, and I think the Giants' defense is very underrated, but none of that was shown Sunday night. Absolutely none of it. I mean, really, any side of the ball, any position, nothing good was shown. So that was a embarrassing showing. So if it makes you guys feel any better, switch to Steelers and Giants, go right ahead. I don't really care. Perfectly valid, but yeah, Giants, they're going now against the Cardinals next week. This is a must-win game. I don't care what anybody says. It's week 2. For morale and just to wash the last week out of your mind, this is a must-win game for the Giants. So they got to go out there and win that game for sure against the Cardinals. And, I think they will. I picked them. I think that it's very doable. But that last week showing is very bad. The next up is Washington, who I took up 2 spots. Really, they moved up just because of the Steelers and the Giants kind of falling a bit. Otherwise, I would have kind of felt comfortable keeping them at the same spot because, yes, they won, but it was against the Cardinals, so the strength of the win there isn't a ton. But still, team slid, and they won, so they did move up for me. I think Washington can be much better than what they showed last week. The Cardinals' defense, I'll give credit to, though. They played a pretty good game and slowed down that Washington offense, which is capable of being very, very good. But still, Washington gets the win. Nice team win. Nice home opener for them and those fans that have, just been waiting for something to cheer about for a while with that, ownership thing. So good for them. They get the win, up 2 spots. Next up is the Patriots, and I'm going to be honest. So they went down a spot for me, but, I think that was honestly a great game. Yeah, you lost, but you lost to a team that just went to the Super Bowl, and you competed after not being able to move the ball at all last year. So I think, yeah, you lost. I moved them down a spot, but, it was a well-played game. Mac Jones over 300 yards passing. They improved a lot, I think. I think the coaching is going to really help. But again, I did a video going over the AFC East, and that Patriots schedule is rough, really rough. So they're going to have to come out on top of some of those games because it doesn't get much easier for them. But it was a great showing that they were able to compete against those high-level teams to start the year. So yeah, they went down 1, but honestly, that's a win in my book. Next is the Vikings, who people might not be very happy with me about because I only actually dropped them 1 spot. And I think some people might want them to fall a bit farther. But I'm going to be honest, they were, 1-score games. Last year, they were 11-0 1-score games. Now they're 0-2. But again, and the Buccaneers game, I'm not going to argue. I mean, that's bad. You got to beat the Buccaneers, especially the offense that good. You got to be able to outscore the Buccaneers. But that Eagles game they just played, Kirk really struggled in prime time against the Eagles last year. And this year, the Vikings lost that game. I mean, the Eagles played well, but, they just ran the ball all over the Vikings. If your offense, first off, I have to start here. If your offense has not fumbled the ball like a gazillion times, you're winning that game. If Jefferson doesn't get that touchback instead of, the touchdown, that you're probably winning that game. So I think the Vikings, considering who they've lost and having a not great defense, have actually competed pretty well. The Buccaneers loss is bad. The Eagles loss is not bad in my opinion. I think the Vikings actually stayed in a game that they didn't really have any business being in because of all those turnovers. If you don't turn the ball over, you probably win that game against a pretty good Eagles team. So Vikings drop a spot. I'm not hitting the panic button yet in the Vikings. But again, that's like one of the awkward teams where like I shouldn't have already seen like what they're gonna do technically because it's like a week 2 thing they already played and I did the video afterwards. So yeah, that's my fault. Won't be like that in the following weeks, but yeah, just throw them on there. Although actually that's my fault. I think the Vikings should be up here. Yeah, so Vikings, they moved down a spot. Next up is the Packers, who actually moved up 5 spots for me. I wasn't really sure how many spots I wanted to move them up because it was against the Bears. But to a certain point, you have to give Jordan Love credit because this was someone that, like, I don't think he had a whole lot of credit coming into this year. I did a video way back in probably July talking about how I actually did believe in Jordan Love, whether it was the start of this year or just at some point to really kind of come into his own and be a good quarterback. And I think he showed a lot of great things that, though the Bears defense isn't great, you can still take away from and build on against better defenses. So I like that Packers win a lot. I think it gives you a lot of confidence in Jordan Love. And I think the Falcons this week will be a great test to see what a better defense, not the best defense you'll play, but a better defense is kind of like. So I think it's a nice step there. So Packers up 5. Maybe that's too much, but I really like that win for Jordan Love and the Packers. And again, this is for my week 2 rankings. So, if they lose, they'll probably move back down. But I'm happy with that win for them. And so I did move them up 5 spots. Next is the Seahawks. And honestly, people might have wanted me to drop them farther. I dropped them just 2 spots after that loss to the Rams. I think the Seahawks are still a great team, and I think that we're going to look back on that Rams game and go, yeah, that's definitely an outlier. Like, that they shouldn't have lost that game. I think they're going to bounce back from that pretty well. I will say, though, they play the Lions this week, which is going to be very tough, and I think it was the Seahawks and Lions who had, like, the crazy high-scoring shootout last year. This is a big game for the Seahawks because you have to at least just compete more than you with the Rams, man. I mean, that was bad. The Lions are a good team. You can beat them. I don't think they will, but it's definitely possible. But you have to at least have a more competitive showing than you did last week. So Seahawks down 2 spots, but honestly, the way they lost last week, I could have them in a much worse spot. And then next is the Cleveland Browns, who are actually up 4 spots. I can't remember if I said my week picks or not, if I expect them to beat the Bengals. I know I picked the Bengals, but like Burrow has a horrible record against the Browns. The Browns have a pretty good record against the Bengals as of late. So I wasn't shocked, but I still felt like the Bengals were the better team, so I picked them and wasn't shown very well in that game at all. I think some things to consider, though, like the weather was horrible. And just hear me, I'm not making excuses for the Bengals. The weather was horrible, and the Bengals did play bad, but I think despite how the Bengals played, regardless of how the Bengals played, the Browns played well. I don't really care if the Bengals kind of imploded and sucked. The Browns still did their job, and they played pretty good, despite what the weather may have done to the Bengals. I think themselves played a good game. I think Deshaun Watson could have played better, but again, the weather and kind of all that factored in, it's kind of acceptable. And at the end of the day, you won big and didn't allow an amazing offense to score any touchdowns. That's huge for the Browns defense. Love to see it. One of the more improved defenses going into this year, and they show it in week 1. So big win for the Browns. Move up 4 spots on the power rankings, so I'm pretty happy with the Browns. Next is the Chargers. The Chargers are just down 1 spot. Not really much of a difference. They played a pretty good game, but it was just a crazy game with the Dolphins. And you competed. You played pretty well. Now you're playing the someone I'm picking the Chargers to win in. Now I can't remember who they actually play. I'm blanking now. Okay, well, whatever. If it comes to me, they play the Titans. I'm pretty sure they play the Titans. I know I'm picking them in that. The Chargers played well last week. So, I'm not going to spend too much time on them. Yeah, you lost. You went down 1 spot. Nothing crazy. You're still a good team. Plenty of season left. Then next is the Lions, who I actually moved up 2 spots. Some people might want me to bump them way up after the win with the Chiefs. I'm going to be a little slow to do that just because I think the Lions are a good team, but they still have to show that a bit more than just 1 week. I think they will. I mean, I've said that I think the Lions will make the playoffs this year, but I am just going to be a bit slower to do that. With those big wins like the Packers or the Browns, I'm more inclined to move them up more. The Lions, here's the thing. The Lions didn't necessarily play that well. Like, the Chiefs kind of won that game, but their receivers sucked. But the thing about that, though, is that because the Lions beat a very good team not playing very well, kind of shows you how good the Lions are, because they weren't even playing their best, in my opinion. So I think it still looks good for the Lions. Not going to boost them way up in the rankings, but up 2 spots. And I really like the way they started their year 1-0, and now they're playing Seattle. They can definitely start 2-0. All right, and this next team, I'm sure people might not be thrilled with me with. So if you're not thrilled with me about it, I get it. I'm sorry. But I'm going to put the Bills next, which is only down 3 spots. And I get it. Okay, you play a really good defense, but you turn the ball over 4 times on offense. And again, I know it's really good defense, but the turnovers, it wasn't like the defense forced a really good play. Like, Josh Allen was just chucking the ball in double coverage to Jordan Whitehead, apparently, because he just likes that guy, because he got all 3 interceptions. So that was bad, first off. That was just, first off, you can't do that. Second off, I know one of them, I think, it wasn't double coverage, but he kind of jumped the route on the sideline. That was a good play by the defender. I don't know if it should have been thrown or not, but still, it was a good play by the defender. And then the fumble to get the Jets back in it. Like, Josh Allen, he said that he lost them the game. I'd be inclined to agree. I think he lost them the game. I will say, defensively for the Bills, in my opinion, you catch a big break. I mean, and you should never want an athlete to get hurt, like, especially to the degree Aaron Rodgers did. But just, the defense or the other players in the field, you can't do anything about that. You don't want to see it, but it happened. And regardless of that, it still increases your chances of winning. Again, whether it was a good way for those odds to increase or not, I would say it's not. I don't want to see injuries. So just to be clear, I do not want to see people get hurt. But the Bills had to be thinking, okay, Zach Wilson's in the game now. He's not Aaron Rodgers. Like, we can be able to stop him. And you did slow him down. You forced the punts. And, I mean, you lost on a walk-off punt. But, like, it's still Zach Wilson. Like, Zach Wilson only threw 1 reception. You can definitely get to him more. And you can definitely make better plays than that. So, I think more of it is... I think more goes into it than just Josh Allen's poor play. But, I mean, you need to win that game, in my opinion. You definitely need to win that game. So, the Bills dropped 3 spots. I understand people might not be very happy with me about that. But, again, plenty of season left. They play the Raiders this week, so they can totally win that game. But that's where I have the Bills as of right now. All right, next up is the Jaguars, who are moving up 1 spot on the tier list. They get the win. You win by 10 points. Not a whole lot to say there. Calvin Ridley's return, big game from him. Lawrence looked good. Etienne and Bigsby, nice running back duo. Defense isn't the best. That's going to come up to kind of hurt you in some of these games where you're going to play some more high-powered offenses like the Chiefs this week. But still a nice game. Move up 1 spot. Nice win. So, yeah, that's the Jaguars. And the end of that row. So, we are now going over to the top 8 teams. So, let me know below what you guys think of these teams. I know some people might like to have the Bills in there instead of the Bengals because the Bengals lost so big. But again, I'll talk about the Bengals more whenever we get to them. So 1 through 8, here we go. And funny enough, number 8 is the Bengals. I don't have them that high above the Bills. And honestly, if you have the Bills above the Bengals, I don't really disagree with that. I think it's perfectly valid. The only reason I didn't drop the Bengals farther is because I don't think this is a sign of like what's to come for their season. I think, yeah, the weather, but like weather aside, they played bad. I mean, you played really bad. But Burrow with the calf injury, I'm still kind of questioning how bad it is. Because again, it might not be the injury, it might just be him not playing, at all the past 3 weeks, not really in practice much, not in preseason at all. And the Bengals started 0-2 last year. Everybody's saying Super Bowl hangover, and then they almost go back to the Super Bowl again. So I'm a little kind of careful before doing that. I think there's still a lot more games left. After this week, though, definitely have to drop them a considerable amount. So down 4 spots to number 8. If they lose again this week to the Ravens, they'll probably be out of the top 10 in my rankings, and the Ravens will definitely be moved up, but over the next team. And the next team, funny enough, is the Ravens. Once again, I have them moving up 1 spot from where I had them. I didn't move them up much more because it was a nice win, but it was over the Texans. Again, the strength of the win there isn't crazy. Lamar didn't even play a great game. I'm pretty sure they said, like, Burrow, Lamar, Daniel Jones, I can't remember the rest of the quarterbacks. Anyway, they combined like a bunch of the quarterbacks. I think Josh Allen was one of them, and then maybe someone else. They've all signed for like $900 million combined, and they only had 1 touchdown combined in week 1, which is just kind of funny. But yeah, so anyway, Ravens, nice win. Nothing crazy, but definitely better than the Bengals, so you're up 1 spot on them. All right, and next is the Jets. And so I do want to spend a little bit of time, I mean, not a lot, probably like maybe a minute or 2 on the Jets. Just because some people, as soon as Rodgers went down, It was sound the alarms, season over. I'm not really ready to do that, though, because first off, there's always a chance Zach Wilson has a lot more confidence and plays at a better level this year. Might be a little out there, I know, but seriously, realistically, that doesn't make any sense. But a very realistic possibility is that the Jets go out and sign a veteran quarterback, which they said they are going to do. They said they're comfortable starting Zach, but that they will sign a veteran at some point. Well, in my opinion, the odds of Zach Wilson playing pretty bad at some point in the season are pretty high, which means that veteran could come in and actually, take over the team. So I'm not going to call the Jets season over yet. They're still a great team. Their defense kept them in games last year, and I expect the same thing this year from them. It's not fair to them because they shouldn't have all that pressure on them, but they are just that good. It's going to be tested this week against the Cowboys, who obviously had an amazing showing last week and have a very good offense. So it'll be tested, but I'm not going to go ahead and say Jets are falling through the rankings. And they also won. That's the other thing. Like, they won the game, and I moved them down a spot because of the Rodgers injury. Losing Rodgers obviously hurts you a ton, but I'm not ready to just drop the Jets 50 ranks on this thing. Like, I'm going to wait it out a little bit more. Then next is the Dolphins. The Dolphins moved up 1 on my list here. They had a really nice win over the Chargers. Tyreek Hill played absolutely incredible. Very good defense this week, though, against the Patriots that they're going to be going up against, to where that can probably affect their ranking a bit. So we'll see Tua against a really good defense, Tyreek Hill against a really good defense. I'm very excited for that. And Dolphins up 1, nice win last week, and then on to the next one. All right, next is the Chiefs, who actually went down 3 spots. And I would really hope no Chiefs fans are gonna be kind of whining to me in the comments, because it's 3 spots. You're still top 4 in the league. It's not that big of a deal. The only reason I even dropped them actually down that far is because of the performances by the other teams. So again, I'm not dropping them because of a 1-point loss on the first game of the season with no Travis Kelce. I'm dropping them because other teams happen to move up. That's really all it was. So Chiefs. No Travis Kelce. I think they said he's expected to be back this weekend and be on the field. Whether that's his full participation or not, I don't know. Chris Jones, though, contract situation seems to be settled, so he'll be on the field. It's a huge, huge addition for you. The Chiefs are a great team. I have not much else to say about them. The Chiefs are a great team. They moved down because some teams moved up, but they're not going anywhere. They have a pretty tough game, though, against the Jaguars in Jacksonville. 2 really good offenses. Should be an exciting one. But the Chiefs are number 4. And then next are the Eagles, who actually didn't move on my list. They stayed at number 3. And the reason being, I didn't want to put them above the other 2 teams on this list because of the way those other 2 teams played. And I didn't want to drop them because they, won 2 games now. So I will say they're not playing spectacular, but they're winning games. And again, if you're winning games, not playing your best is a good sign. So Eagles stay in number 3. Really, really good team. Nice win over the Vikings last night in a crazy game on the ground. Devontae Smith went off in the air. Well, I guess receiving wise, Hurts did pretty well in the air, but also the 2 rushing touchdowns. So Eagles are a good team. They're staying at number 3. And then next is going to be the Cowboys, who moved up I think 8 spots or something. And I had to move them up a bunch because they just won 40-0 over a division rival. And you might be thinking, oh, it's just the Giants, but you have to. I can't just 40-0, nice. Cowboys up 2 spots. I gotta honor that. The Cowboys played very, very well. I'm excited to see what they do against a really good Jets defense this weekend, because that will determine where they kind of go on this power ranking, whether it's just because they did beat the Giants and they fall, or if they're just that good and they're going to win this time against a really good defense. We'll see how that goes, but I had to move the Cowboys up. They played great, and number 1 is going to be the 49ers. The 49ers, I believe, are up, I think, 1 or 2 spots from where I had them before, maybe 3, actually. But you win huge over Pittsburgh with a really good defense. Purdy looks very good. Deebo Samuel played well. Ayuk 2 touchdowns. McCaffrey played great, 160 yards and a touchdown. And obviously the defense played great. I think the 49ers actually said, I think Trent Williams or somebody said that at one point the 49ers offense were cheering for the Steelers to move the ball because they were so tired they just wanted to be able to sit out more, which is so embarrassing for the Steelers. But yeah, 49ers absolutely dominant that game. Number 1 team in the NFL, in my opinion. And these are my power rankings heading into week 2. Obviously, not all of you are going to agree with these, so let me know down below your guys' problems with them, what I got right, what I got wrong, what you guys think about these matchups this weekend. I did a week picks video, so if you want to hear my thoughts on the games this weekend, go check that out. But that's going to do it for this power rankings. every week, but not every Friday. It'll be every Thursday from now on, so I can get them out before the Thursday night games. Sorry about the Vikings and Eagles, because it does make it kind of awkward in the rankings. But yeah, these are my rankings. Thank you guys for watching. I do really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for more NFL content. I do NFL and Madden videos. It's always football content on the channel one way or another. I'm currently 7 subscribers away from 500. Thank you guys for all the support. Yeah, that's about it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.